the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has come up with a business pulse index that measures the relevance of government policies to the private sector. To help us dissect this particular pulse index is the head of research in the person of Julius Lamte, who joins us via Zoom. Many thanks for joining us on the program, Julius. So first of all, help us understand the remits of this particular report.
So thank you very much. So what we have found out as a chamber is that our SMEs are largely growth-driven with appreciable improvement in their historical sales, their 1 year EBITDA, 12 months earnings, and also 3-year forecast on their company's return. So what we are finding is that SMEs in Ghana are largely growth-driven. What we also found out was that about 2 out of 3 enterprises' growth is also dynamic. What this means is that in the event that there are shocks in the system, there are shocks in the economic cycles or in the industry, these SMEs, 44% of them may have their growth affected. So what we are saying is that largely businesses or our enterprises are growth-driven, but then they are less stable. And this calls for concern. This calls for we putting up structures in place or policies to support our SMEs to grow. Now, we also found out that if you should check the value index, we also noticed that businesses that are mainly big, as in terms of the corporates or the large enterprises, they are more value-driven. And if you talk about the value-driven, we are looking at their total asset base, and then we're also looking at their the company turnover. We found out that about 2 out of 3 enterprises, this value is less stable. So meaning that our enterprises in the country, they don't have a strong asset base.
Okay,
what
so sorry to cut you there, Julius. So this particular research that you conducted, was it during the scope of COVID-19 or pre-COVID-19? And if indeed it was during COVID-19, how do you measure the impact of government stimulus packages so far?
So, yeah, thank you very much, Charles, for your question. So what we did is that this study was done, this is taking into account the data, this company financials from the year 2013 up to 2019. So we mobilized the data, and what we have found is that data will give you an indication as to which areas or which industries are resilient, which industries are also growth driven, which industries are dynamic. So from the data that we have found, we can tell on authority or based on the empirical data that this manufacturing, wholesaling, this retailing, construction, then also professional services and the education industry, these are the most stable industries in the country. So whether COVID or no COVID, these industries will survive the test of time. What the data has also shown us that there are other industries that are less stable, and these are the industries that we need to focus attention to help them survive, particularly in this COVID situation.
Interesting. So how does this inform the business community moving forward? We do know that you've been engaging government on some of the existing challenges that most SMEs are faced with, even large businesses. But how does this inform the business community moving forward in an era of coronavirus?
So thank you very much. So I think from the data that we have seen, one key policy, this recommendation is that SMEs should be furnished with more proactive policy environments, and this should also be encouraged to reinvest with cheaper capital for faster growth and expansion. Because one thing we found is that even though SMEs are growing, they are not able to reinvest in their businesses. So once we are in this pandemic, it calls for concern that these SMEs should reinvest in their businesses with cheaper and then also faster capital. We also have to adopt the strategy whereby we seal off any operational leakages, and then also try to mitigate this risk exposures. We are also asking that there should be an easier access to finance so that our SMEs can be able to withstand the shocks. We are also working with government and then all local and other international partners to ensure that the growth potential of our SMEs are nurtured and also transition into value-driven ones. Because once an SME is able to grow and become a state where they are value-driven, they'll be able to withstand the shocks of time. And what we have also found in the data is that enterprises or businesses that are value-driven, they tend to be more sustainable, and then they also tend to be more stable. So there's hope for Ghana in the sense that our SMEs are largely this growth driven. We don't have to stop there, but we have to move them into more value driven, move again further to more sustainability and further to more stability.
Julius Lamte, we're so grateful that you joined us. He's the head of research at the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, detailing to us the business pulse, which indicates that over 40% of SMEs in Ghana currently are unstable. Should they be hit by a second wave of COVID-19, what this means is that they're all going to be going down. We shall be keeping a close eye on the details of this particular report to give you, reports in our subsequent bulletins.